Upset alert time. We got to break this down, and I'm going to start right here, actually, in College Station. LSU at Texas A&M. LSU's perfect in road games this year, at least true road games. They lost to Florida State in New Orleans, and we are not classifying that as a true road game. A&M, I feel like, has been building to this thing for a little while. This game, because they've known they're out of contention for a while. Now they're not even in bowl contention, but they've built to this one. And here's what's interesting. I was talking to Billy Lucci about this earlier today. There's this perception that this freshman class for A&M's been a disaster. It hasn't. The season has. The freshman class hasn't. In fact, every bit of juice that's being squeezed out of this team right now is largely because of that true freshman class. So how sweet would it be for that freshman class? Still got a ton to play for because they have multiple years in front of them to play for. How sweet would it be for them if they could build to this kind of Super Bowl? This is their bowl game. Like, this is A&M's bowl game. And end up tripping up LSU, who has not exactly been flawless and blowing teams out on the road. LSU allowing red zone touchdowns 39% of the opponent's trips. Did you know that? LSU defensively, giving up a touchdown 39% of the time you go into the red zone against them. That's number 2 in FBS. That's why I have a hard time seeing A&M win the game. I'm going to put a 6 on this for the upset alert meter. But, man, you could sell me on Connor Wigman in this offense working their way down the field, getting in the red zone. You got to get in the end zone. They don't give you points for getting inside the 20. You got to get in the end zone. And LSU has been fantastic at preventing better offenses from doing that. I got a hard time. I could see 3s Saturday. I don't know if I'm going to see enough 7s from A&M. Still, though, tough place to play. I'm going to put a 6 on it. I can't take anything for granted with LSU. They're too new to the party. The money still smells too fresh. I cannot take it for granted. I'm putting a 6 on it. How about Oregon at Oregon State? This one's a 7 on the upset alert meter for me. 2 head coaches in the history of Oregon football have won 10-plus games their first year. One of them was Chip Kelly. The other was Mark Helfrich. And that's about as good as it got for Helfrich there. Dan Lanning could be the third. They're sitting at 9 wins right now. They've got a Pac-12 championship trip on the line. And here's what's on the line here, by the way. Oregon either needs to win this game or have Washington lose to go to the Pac-12 championship game. Damian Martinez is a name, if you're a hardcore college football fan, you probably know. He's a running back for Oregon State. 100-plus yards his last 5 games. Oregon State is, to me, the quietest, most anonymous, pretty good team in America. Plenty good enough, especially given the string of games that Oregon's in the middle of right now. They had the UCLA game a little while ago, but think about the stretch of games that they've gone through recently. And they had the loss against Washington. I thought the gut check of the year for them was last week when they beat Utah. They're not totally healthy yet. Just because they won last week doesn't make them healthy. Now they got to go on the road, and this is true Super Bowl mode for Oregon State. Meanwhile, there's a bunch left down the road to play for Oregon. I think it's a dangerous spot. It's another example of the kind of game and the kind of landmine weekend that the Pac-12 has been offering up all year. And then you add on the rivalry aspect. I think it's a 7. I probably should put it at an 8. And since there's no rule against it, there you go. I'm going to put it at an 8 for Oregon. Be very careful, gentlemen, very careful. What about Auburn-Bama? I cannot believe we live in a world where we're not even doing an individual game breakdown for the Iron Bowl because it's only a 3 on the upset alert scale. Let's say the best were to happen. And let's say defensively, Auburn's just got Bama figured out. I mean, are you really scoring on them? You've got to score 24, I would think, minimum to beat Alabama. Minimum. Are you doing that? I'm not talking about kickoff returns, punt returns, special team, defensive scores. I can't predict that. You can't predict that. Are you scoring 24 offensive points? If you can predict that, come talk to me. We'll have a separate conversation. But Bama's final ride with Bryce Young probably is this Saturday. I don't think he's playing in the bowl game. I don't think Will Anderson's going to play in the bowl game. This is it. I don't think a lot of people have had that dawn on them yet. This is it for that group of kids. And so I don't think Auburn can score enough. I don't think there's a lot of sense in spending a ton of time on it. I'm going to put a 3 on it because, well, I guess anything can happen. And we have seen teams hold Bama, and we've seen it be one possession at the very end. So I'm not telling you that I think Bama's going to pull away early. I just think eventually they will. I mean, the line on that thing is over 3 touchdowns. That's been the case multiple times this year, and Bama still played close. I think you'll get a pretty good game from them. So I'm going to put a 3 on it. I think much more intrigue is on who the head coach is at Auburn by the time that the weekend wraps up. What about TCU? TCU, who do they play? Quiz out there. Who do they play? They play Iowa State. And no, we at Iowa State have not had a good year, but we would love nothing more than to spoil the old Horned Frog party there in Fort Worth. This is a 6 for me because any team that can make games ugly has a shot. And Iowa State can make games ugly. Now, I could offer you the exact same question I just asked about Auburn. How are you going to score? Look, that's a bridge that you just cross when you come to it, if you're TCU, or if you're Iowa State, rather. But TCU limited Texas, okay? So we know easily they can limit Iowa State. So Iowa State's going to have some of that magic. Iowa State's going to have one of those games where, yeah, you outgained us by 230, but look, we're still tied in the fourth quarter. How does that happen? The ball's shaped weirdly. That's how that would happen. Non-offensive points, it's sort of a tweener game. That's what has to happen here for Iowa State. I don't think it will, but I'm going to put a 6 on this anyway because TCU, likewise, they're out in the deep end. You learn how long a football season is when you get in the playoff mix for the first time and you find out, hey, November is actually like 17 weeks. Like, think about how long November is for TCU. Oregon probably feels the same way. So you've been out there for a while now and you're taking everyone's best shot. You can't look past anyone. Matt Campbell's still a heck of a coach. Don't forget that just because they've been down this year. So I'm putting a 6 on that. Last game, I have no clue about. I think it's an 8 at least, and that's Tennessee at Vandy. I think Vegas looked at this and said, okay, well, we're not going to make Tennessee under a 2-touchdown favorite, but honestly, what do we do here? And I'm asking you the same thing. What do we do here? It's the toughest game to me to gauge because I don't know that Tennessee may not be completely and utterly gutted from last week. I mean, they go on the road, they get smashed. They got splattered by South Carolina and lost Hendon Hooker for the year. So all of your goals, national title by way of the playoff, it's all out the window not long after you lost the ability to play for the SEC championship. And that would be bad enough. You're playing Vandy, which is so hot right now, you have to put gloves on to touch the logo. Like Dorvember has been Dorvember for a reason. They've beaten Kentucky. They just beat Florida last week. I don't know what it means to have to go into Vanderbilt's building, but you do. At least they don't have to go into Neyland. There may be internal issues at Tennessee if you read message boards, which obviously I don't, but I know a lot of you traffic in that. This is an 8. Like, I wouldn't be surprised by Tennessee winning by 30. I wouldn't be surprised by Vandy pulling the outright upset. And wow, how terrible would that be as an ending to the season for Tennessee after all that hope and promise to have it end so cruelly? But that's football, man. That's the way the sport works. So I'm putting an 8 on that, and that's a night game. So I'll be on the way home on a plane somewhere probably over Tennessee watching that game. It's anyone's game, man. 14, I get the number. It's anyone's game. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.